Spring football is on and popping in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The Tigers got the pads popping. What are some questions that we have as spring ball does get rolling? Now, a lot of these we're just kind of taking a temperature for. It's very, very difficult to get absolute answers during spring practice because remember, it is just practice. Got a spring game. It's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch. Make sure you have a membership over at the Bengal Tiger or LSU on 3 site. They're going to keep you in the know. I promise you. But what are some questions that we need to gauge as spring practice gets rolling for LSU? Now, the first question I have, and a lot of y'all have the same question, Jayden Daniels. How far along are we in unhitching the wagon? A lot of y'all that watched LSU last year, you know what I'm talking about. We're not being hypercritical. We love Jayden Daniels on this show. I think he's one of the best players in college football. I think LSU is fortunate to have him as their starting quarterback when he transferred from Arizona State. But Brian Kelly said as much. The fan base has said as much. We've said as much on this show. He takes really good care of the football, but we would like to see him push the ball vertically more. Now, sometimes that means taking a 50-50 shot. And when it's 50-50, by definition of what a 50-50 ball is, it's a 50% chance that pass is intercepted. All right, but at least you gave your playmaker a shot. And they have a lot of good playmakers at LSU, Malik Neighbors being one of them, that need to see the football vertically. And I think he got better at this as the season wore on. But like I said, unhitching the wagon, how far along are we in that? Is it a thing where Jayden Daniels is still trying to train himself to push the ball downfield and we're dealing with that the first few weeks of the season? Or is it, hey, new Jayden Daniels, it's clicked to another level. It already clicked last year after the Auburn game, but it clicks to a whole new level for him offensively in this scheme. To go back to that metaphor of what unhitching the wagon is, if you're pulling anything behind you in your car, a trailer, a wagon, whatever it is, you're limited with how fast you can go if that trailer or that wagon is hitched to your vehicle. Just makes sense. It's weighing you down. When you unhitch the wagon, then you can reach your full potential as an offense. You can reach top speed with your vehicle. The vehicle of the offense at LSU, it's got a lot of horsepower. And Jayden Daniels, he's got the keys, he's got the gas, he's got all that, man. He's got his foot on the pedal. But how much are they able to utilize that with him unhitching the wagon? Okay, so the progress there, we got to keep an eye on. All right, make sure you're subscribed right here. We appreciate y'all for doing that. College football ball, college football content every single day. We talk ball every single day. You know the drill. Also, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD Piquel. With that out of the way, let's talk some more about LSU. How are they going to utilize Harold Perkins in 2023? Spring should give us a little bit of a sneak peek, but when it comes to last year, some of it was probably he's a freshman and still learning the defense. Some of it, too, is just, hey, how can you utilize him within your scheme, right? Because it wasn't until later in the year where they found a spot for him, and credit Matt House for doing that, man. I think he's one of the best assistants in the country. LSU fans, you probably agree. But Harold Perkins and his skill set, he can do so many things for you. Where do we see him playing in the spring? And I don't think this is a matter of him just lining up at one position for LSU. Like, I don't see it's just, hey, you got Harold Perkins at your outside linebacker. That's what he's playing the whole year. I'm curious how many different positions they work him in at during the spring. Because remember, spring football, it's all about laying the foundation, all about setting the base for what you're going to be in the fall. Did they set the base at a lot of different positions for him? Do we see him lining up at safety? Do we see him lining up in the middle? Where do we see Harold Perkins lining up at? Because this is an absolute dog. He's got the single digit lining up now with the number 4. Traded in the 40 for it. Like, he's going to be a guy for you yet again. LSU fans, you know this. When you flip on an LSU football game and you got Harold Perkins on the field, last year was 40 again. This year he'll be 4. When you see number 4 on defense, you can't help but have your eyes glued to him, man. I'm saying this. I mean, he reminds me a lot of another guy that came through there and played a lot of different positions. Tyrann Mathieu. I know they're different kind of players, but the versatility is what Harold Perkins reminds me of. So how versatile do they allow him to be in the spring? It's a great chance for him to get his feet wet at a lot of spots. The bottom line is he's one of your best 11, clearly. He needs to be able to line up different places for you on a week-to-week basis and be familiar with what he's doing in that scheme. 1 week, might need you to spy the quarterback. Next week, we might need you to line up out in the flats and play some of the pass a little bit more for us. Next week, we might need you to rush the passer some more. Like, He has such a diverse skill set, you are doing a disservice to yourself on defense if you don't play him at multiple spots. So how many spots do we see him at in the spring? Something I'm curious to gauge. Last thing we got to keep an eye on for LSU, the offensive line last year. Y'all, for the first 5 weeks, it felt like, all right, put a bunch of names in a hat, shake it up a little bit, pull out a name. That's who we got starting on the offensive line for us at LSU. Like there was just, I forget the stretch of how many weeks it was, but it was something like 5+ weeks, maybe 6 weeks even, where every single week it was a different combination on the offensive line. Now, you would hope you can stay healthy and feel good about who you have on that offensive line and have some more experience there. This coming season, how are they meshing during the spring? This is important, obviously, because you got to give your quarterback time. Again, it will be Jayden Daniels. Brian Kelly came on this show and told us Jayden Daniels is our starter. Garrett Nussmeier will get time. But the offensive line, providing him time to throw and get through his progression and allow him time to pull the trigger down the field, it's going to be crucial. I would even go further and say this. When LSU was able to run the football, when the big boys up front were able to move the line of scrimmage, they were one of the most dangerous teams in the country because that defense was on a roll, especially in the second half of the year. The offense found more of their identity. And that was sort of it at that point. They could dictate terms to you because of how they were able to run the football. Could do some inside zone, could do Jayden Daniels tucking it off the edge and getting 40. And you get some play action when those safeties creep up. The defense is wreaking havoc when they get off the field. Like, there was just so much that snowballed, and it all starts on the offensive line. So how they mesh during spring should give us a good temperature for what they look like in the fall. Now, these are very simplistic bullet points for you, but these are things that I think are simplistic for a reason. And we're talking about these main sort of broad points for a reason because they're going to determine how successful LSU is when we get to the fall, right? Now, this isn't an all-inclusive list, or an all-encompassing list, rather, but key points nonetheless. Got to keep a gauge on these for LSU as we get to 2023. So keep an eye on them in Baton Rouge. Again, Bengal Tiger. LSU on 3 site, going to keep you in the know better than anybody else in the industry. So lock it in right there. Lock it in right here as well. Subscribe to the On3 YouTube channel, The Hard Count, live every single day, man. We're able to have this show because y'all love ball. So thank you for that. Love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.